Hello and welcome to my channel. My name's Jo and this is Joey Sewy, where I talk about sewing, knitting, creativity and life. In this video I'm going to talk to you about my hack of the Jenny Overalls pattern from Closet Case Patterns. So if you have been following my channel, you will know I've been making this pattern and you will know it hasn't all gone right. But if you watched my last video, you will also know that it has a happy ending. I absolutely love the final version of the overalls that I've made. My trials and tribulations were nothing to do with the pattern. Closet Case Patterns are, in my experience, 100% well drafted, and instructions are always so meticulous, and there are sew-alongs and all of that. So it's not about the pattern, it's just been my journey about learning how to get the pattern to work for me. And one of the things that I struggled with was the fact that I'm 42 years old and I was wearing dungarees. And I know it's because dungarees have come into fashion. I know I'm not the only person of my generation and above, or maybe below. I'm not the only person in the world, certainly, who's had this dungarees issue. And so I felt like the way to kind of take part in the trend, because I love the way it looks on other people. It's not that I look at other people and think that it looks wrong, it's just it felt wrong when I tried to wear that shape for myself, and if you're not comfortable then you need to do something about it. So the way I felt I wanted to do something about it was to change up the top. So I'm wearing my Jenny overalls, and if you know the pattern you will realise that these are nothing like the pattern, or at least the top half isn't. The bottom half is exactly the pattern, and I love it, and they fit brilliantly, the trousers. If you want to see a full body version, you can go to my What Have I Been Sewing in July video, which I will link up below and up above and down below. But this video is all about the hack, and the hack was purely from the waist upwards. Relevant to the hack though were the fastening options that I chose. So on this pattern there are, I think if you include expansion packs, there are 3 different fastening options, arguably 4. The first is a side zip. The second is side buttons, which is what I chose. So they're the 3 buttons. And because I have quite a difference between my hips and my waist, they suggest, and what I went with, was buttons on both sides. I actually quite like the look of the buttons on both sides anyway, but they do suggest if there's a big difference, and I have 2 sizes different between waist and hip, that you should open both, because otherwise basically you won't have space to get in and out. So I've got a side button fastening, and that influenced what I could do. The other possible versions, so you have 1 zip, 1 button, or 2 zips and 2 buttons, so that's 4. And then there is also a hack on their blog where you can put buttons all the way down the front, which I was tempted by, but by the time I got to that stage, to be honest, I'd put so much work into this, I just wanted to get to a finished project. But I think maybe I would go for buttons down the front, or at least try that hack another time, because the pictures on the blog are gorgeous. I'll insert a couple of pictures up here, because yeah, Heather looks fantastic in that version as well. So shall we get into discussing what I did? As you can see, I've changed the shape, I've hand pleated the front, and I've changed the back. So there you go. Those are all the things I changed, and I'm going to cut now to an explanation of exactly how I did that. The first thing that you need to do is attach the fabric to the dress form, and then cut and ease the fabric so that it sits well on the body. There's a really good YouTube video by Nick Farias about how to do this, and I'll put a link in the comments below. So I'm pinning and I'm cutting to ease the fabric. Don't cut into the section that will become your pattern piece though. That's the side view. All this takes a lot longer than it looks. Next, I draw a design line. I use a Sharpie marker because my dress form is a dark colour, so it's not going to get damaged by that. And it shows up on the fabric perfectly well. I'm finding the centre front mark so that I get a perfectly symmetrical pattern piece. If you don't have a symmetrical body, you will have to drape it twice, but if you have a relatively symmetrical body, then you will be able to just drape one side and then create a mirror image of the pattern for the second side. And now I'm doing a dot to dot to create the centre front line and the front neckline. Now I'm working around the side of the body, finding the waistline in the same way, and I'm working on the side back. Now originally I was thinking about taking the side of the front bib a lot further around, but then I realised that was going to interfere with the side fastening, so I actually cut off the side a bit more in my final version. Here I'm comparing to the pattern piece because I'd made the original pattern, so I knew how I liked the proportions. I knew where I wanted my design to be slightly bigger, I knew where I wanted it to be slightly smaller. So I'm using that pattern piece as a reference point. I was thinking about putting a waist dart in, which is what you can see here. It would have shaped the bib a little bit more to my body, but in the end I decided not to do that because I thought it would actually take it away from being a dungarees shape. Then you cut out the design lines that you've created and you pin it back onto the dress form. So that's what you can see here, and this is the version where the side went more around the back before I decided that I didn't want to mess around with the side closures on the trousers. I was wondering about whether to take a tiny dart out there, which I did, and I've basically just shaped the curve around the arm a little bit more in the final one so it fit just a slightly bit closer there. And then we're doing the same again on the back. So I've pinned a flat piece of fabric to the back, I'm finding the centre back line, and then I'm drawing the design lines that I want to have. If you decide to change the design lines, you can just switch up the colour of pen that you use so you don't get confused. Then I needed to just extend the line of the shoulder straps because of course they need to overlap at the shoulders where they're going to be buttoned. So that's what I'm doing just there. So this is the hand pleating. I took my base foundation section and I took a large piece of fabric and I pinned and pleated. I was playing around with whether I liked how it looked and how much fabric it would need. Then I created the final version of the foundation of the garment, so that's what you can see here. It's essentially the lining of the bib and it's given me the basic shape. And I went in and I created the pleats finally. So I did one side, and you can just maybe see on the close-up that I've sewn each pleat in place. And once you've done that once, you then of course have to go and do it twice. So that's a view of the inside of the garment when I've done it twice. You can see the stitching line around the foundation garment, and this is before trimming. This is the other side flipped over, so this is the foundation of the bib, and you can see the stitching line and you can see the pleats all extending every which way, and then you finally trim, so then it becomes nice and neat. And you can eventually turn that the right way out. So you leave the bottom and the top of the straps undone, and then you turn the bib the right way out, and you can follow the pattern exactly as before. You will have seen in that video that I used my dress form, and it is so much easier to adjust things and to drape things if you have a made to measure dress form. I made myself one about 8 months ago now, I think, and it has just changed my ability to be able to alter patterns for myself. So I will put a link down below to the pattern company who I had to sew it together, but who made the pattern for the made to measure dress form, because it really does make a difference. And I'll also put a link down below to my videos about that pattern because it's changed my life. So I hope you enjoyed that. I have a question for you. What is your favourite sewing hack that either you've ever seen or that you've done yourself? So it doesn't have to be one that you've done yourself, but what's your favourite hack of a pattern? I would love to know. So share that down in the comments below, and I will be back really soon with another video. Thanks for watching. Bye.